Greetings from the Erie Coast. This is Matt Shad. This is another episode of the Zoot Report, Sunroof Edition. Let's go. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I was inspired. Thank you, Region 9. I've always been a fan of Michael Yan. If you haven't checked him out, sorry, I'm having a little episode right now. Watching everything. There's like a funeral going on. I'm actually trying to get an oil change right now, waiting in line. But I was going to talk about this later, but I don't know. It looks like looks like I got some time. Anyway, what do I want to talk about today? Well, first and foremost, it is 91 degrees here in Northeast Ohio. Partly cloudy skies, high UV. It's hot. It's hot, and they say it's supposed to rain or some shit. I don't know, like bad. Like we're supposed to get a freaking hurricane in Ohio. I don't know. We'll see what happens. You never know what happens. You know, they say one thing and something else happens. Skull, by the way. What are we going to talk about? The weaponization of victimhood. How dangerous is victimhood? Everybody just kind of like, poo-poos it like, oh, look at that. They're playing the victim card. Oh no, well. And usually it's dismissed, right? Usually it's like, yeah, whatever, But rarely do people actually realize how dangerous it actually is. Really. Yeah, there's different kinds of victimhood. There's actual victims that go through victimhood, but it changes once it becomes less personal. It's an illicit response, emotional illicit response, which is needed. Yes, please. All right, boom. Oil change conducted. Yeah. So the victimhood of mentality, or the victimhood mentality, is actually a tactic used for weaponization, for warfare. Yeah, it's, and I'll explain. Say in the case of I don't know, free Palestine, the Paleo-Steins going on over there, the genocidal things going on, justified or unjustified, right? It doesn't matter. Anyway, any way you feel about it, it doesn't matter. But what you see going on here, on both sides, is this victimhood mentality. Where, oh my God, the group, as a group collective, says, oh my God, look at what's going on. They probably don't say, oh my God. They go, oh my Allah. Look what they're doing to us. They're doing this and that. It's horrible. It's horrific, and we're victims here, and I don't know what to do, and it's so horrible here. Look at the atrocities, And so what that does, it says, hey, even if it is true, even if it's not not true, doesn't matter. It's the victimization of oneself that creates a mentality and projects anger and disgust. So the group, the people, the collective that are being quote unquote victimized, right? Because they want a war. They want to justify a war. They want to justify a war. They want to justify a war to themselves and to others, right? They're all the onlookers that, hey, this is what's going on here. This is why we're justifying our actions, retaliation. It creates a hate, or the anger, which are the emotions. It elicits the emotional response, which is anger and disgust. That's why you demonize the enemy in any kind of conflict. Create that anger and disgust, which breeds hate. Yes, that's where hate comes from. Anger and disgust. Whether the accusations are true or false doesn't matter, because the emotional response is there. And we all know that social media is the algorithms are the masters at eliciting emotional responses. So once anger and disgust are built in the populace or whatever, then there is hate. You know, it just like a football game, right? Your team against their team. And then all the spectators have to go, well, I don't like this team because of my anger and disgust for that thing that they did. They did this thing, and it's a bad call, whatever. It was a late hit, whatever. They fumbled the ball. They pass interception. Late hit on the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? It breeds that hate, that anger and disgust, which leads to hate. And so, hate is, and like I said, I'm quoting Michael Young on this, is the rocket fuel for any conflict. That's what it does. It creates an ongoing fuel, tackling fuel, right? it creates that it leads to the passion, to the drive, to people signing on to the cause, to the recruitment. It's ongoing. It's ongoing for the hate. And to keep the hate going, that's what they've been doing for thousands of years. Not to mention, misdirection and misdirection, right? Deception and misdirection, and plays right into the subversiveness of the tactics of subversive. So yeah, I'm kind of breaking it all down. The subversion. That's where you get hate, and hate leads to that major war or conflict, and it's the justification and ongoing justification for the actions, for the long-lasting feud. And it's human nature. It's human nature to engage in hate when anger and disgust, the two emotions, are mixed together like a brew, like a witch's brew, and given to the populace. Here you go. Here's some anger and hate for you. And you don't even know if it's true or not. It doesn't matter. You feel some type of way about it. Without knowing the facts, without knowing who's who and what's what, who's actually doing this, who's actually perpetrating this, you feel that anger and disgust against the enemy, who they want you. That's who they want the enemy to be. And oftentimes, you are the enemy. This is a perfect way of how you play both sides against each other. This is how you drive that wedge of division into any group of people. So you have to get on their You have to appeal to their anger and hate emotions and run with it. Once that happens and once it's established, it will perpetuate for almost forever. As long as you keep feeding, it's like a fire. You got to keep feeding the fire. You got to give it more wood. You got to give it more, more fuel. And that in turn, and it's not much that is needed. Just some lies and some misdirection here and there, and you got it. You can ramp it up with some false flag scenarios and some black swan events. Blame it on this person, blame it on this group, blame it on that group. And fuel that hate. And we don't even realize it. Every major war, think about it. And I used to love the illustrations. Growing up as a kid, I loved war history and things. And one of the things I really enjoyed was the illustrations, the propagandist illustrations, how they drew the enemy. The Japanese, they had this funny hat, right? The funny hat society. They all had funny hats. They all had buck teeth, squinty eyes, skinny, wearing pajamas. Same thing with the Vietnamese. Same thing with whatever. The Stalinists were, the Russians were fat. They had this they had this mustache like Stalin. They were fat and had dirty shirts on. You see how it just perpetuates. And that propaganda, it was, at the time, it was illustration. Now you got AI that can just build this shit. And like I said, that fuel, whether it's true or false, makes you feel a certain type of way about that group of people, whatever that group of people is. If you do not have that type of discernment or I don't know, peace, love for a fellow man, love for mankind, you don't have the understanding of how you're being played, because we're all being played. It's guaranteed. We are all being played. So either you're complicit in it or you're affected by it. And the hate is allowed to propagate. And you yourself might even propagate the hate. That's the thing. Everybody like shares everything and, makes a comment about everything. What that serves to do is to propagate that hate. It's something to think about when you hear about this victimhood. The victimhood mentality. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It is weaponization. It is weaponization and an assault against your actual emotions. Because we all feel that way. We all have that, either empathetic or sympathetic. And that's what happens. So, alright, I'm back. Damn. How many times am I going to stop this video and restart this video? Hey, life happens, but, whatever. So I was talking about, hate. This is how hate is made. This is how subversion makes hate. Yes, subversion. And regardless of who's doing it, I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? Or the 14 Okay, I'm going to say the $14 question. Who is perpetrating this? This is the I can't really rightly say. More research is done. I call them the EOs, the elite occultist. It's definitely communist. It's definitely totalitarian. It's definitely tyrannical in nature. So regardless of the many, many faces that they have, this is the format. This is the blueprint. And you would think, as Americans, as a constitutional republic, grounded in this type of safeguarding against the our history of defiance against tyranny, that we would know what tyranny looks like, but we don't. This is how you create division. This is how you divide and conquer. Now, back in the day, it was easy, right? 250 years ago, it was easy. Knew who the enemy was. And they tried the same type of tactics as well. But the colonies didn't fall for it. I don't know. Maybe they did. But eventually, enough people had their eyes opened to the tactics, to the telltale signs. What's up, buddy? Yeah, I talk to dogs. I say hi to dogs in traffic. Once you know what it looks like, then you know you've been played. Then you can decide who's, I don't know, follow the money, follow the tactics, follow who the Occam's razor, whatever the case may be. But that's exactly where hate comes from. Victimhood. That's why you have, look at it, apply the principles. That's all that the left, if you will, we call them the left here, I don't know, the left, the right, it's the same, man. Same bird, different wings, really. But especially the left, their victim politics. And that's exactly what the radical groups do as well. You look at Antifa. Oh, we're fighting for the rights of those that have been oppressed, those victims of transphobia and furry phobia and whatever. And you see what they do. They get their comrades in a bubble, in a brainwashing bubble, feed them lies. That's the thing about a lie, there's always a kernel of truth somewhere in there. It's used to validate the lie. And they constantly tell them, well, they're trying to kill you all because you're all trans or something. And, that breeds that paranoia. That instills that victimhood. Then they introduce anger disgust, they elicit those responses. Aren't you mad? Are you just going to stand there and take it? You going to let that fool talk about your mama like that? We've all had that friend. Oh, hell no. You going to let him talk to you like that? Bro, you need to handle your business. Now you have anger. Grr, I'm being oppressed. Grr. And now think of the disgust that they add. Well, you know, these conservatives, these right-wingers, these Trump MAGAs, all of them, you know, anyone and everyone that is not you is against you, and you must have anger towards them. Right? So be angry that they are not accepting of you and your mental illness. Which is very ironic because it creates anger and disgust in the other side, the right side. So it's not just one side, it's both sides played against each other. And this has been going on for decades, thousands of years. Divide and conquer, division. It's as old as time. Division tactics. Subversion 101 at its finest. At its simplest form. Applying those principles, it all makes sense. Well, shit, they want us to fight each other. They want us to have anger and disgust towards each other. Whereas true acceptance could not falter that. Could not foster that. Could not grow that. It could not grow in that environment because, you know, we have some type of we do have a common thread. We always have common threads. For one, we're human beings, we're Homo sapiens, earthlings, and two, we're Americans. And you can keep going on from there, and identifying those threads. Your families, your friends, like-minded individuals. Right? I don't see hate as a part of one of my... I do. There's some hate. I got some hate. We all have hate. Hates, plural. Things that we hate. You know, whether it's traffic or Karens, you know, long lines at the convenience store, you know, whatever the case may be. We all have these hates, and we all have these disgust. You know, snakes, worms, you know, smelly people, people that talk loud, those annoying tabs that are stuck on your pillows, that you're afraid to pull off because they say, under a penalty of law, do not remove. On a pillow. I don't think any of my pillows have those. Hey, such is my defiance. I rip those tags off. Screw you, government. Fuck you and your laws. Anyway, I am a law-abiding citizen, of course. But you're not a true American unless you break at least 2 or 3 laws a day. You know, whatever. That is one of the greatest weapons they have. Is victimization. To create victims in a society and then instill anger and disgust in them towards another group. Or haven't noticed in themselves. I have such anger and disgust for myself. Really? Hey, here's a good idea. Why don't you go do a tear? Yeah. Hey, Mr. Glowy here. You're a fucked up individual. Why don't you go ahead and redeem yourself? Take one for the team. Sacrifice yourself for the greater good. Yeah. Ugh. Here's the instruction manual. Here, write this stuff on your rifles, all in white paint, so everybody can read it. And it fortifies our MK Ultras, if you will, inside you. You find it ironic that most mass shooters off themselves? Why? Why do they do that? Hey, your job is done. Oh, you didn't die in battle. You don't get to go to Valhalla. You don't get to go to leftist heaven. So you gotta off yourself. Because the enemy is going to try to interrogate you and torture you. So you need to off yourself. Yeah. So yeah, it all starts with victimization. Hate. Create the victimization. You can create the hate and the disgust. And from there, the anger, the disgust, you can create the hate, which fuels the conflict. Thank you all for hanging out with me on this Zoot report. Hope it made sense. I think I pretty much boiled it all down as much as I could. Thank you all, and Skull.